Welcome, everyone, to today's webinar, Combating Dry Conditions with Soil Health. My name is Philip Linton. I'm the VP of Corporate Development at Devron, and today will serve as the moderator for this session. As climate challenges continue to impact agriculture, managing dry conditions effectively has become essential. This session will explore how healthy soil can serve as a natural solution to drought, enhancing water retention, reducing erosion, and supporting sustainable crop growth. We are really happy today to have our very own Dr. Rebecca Harvey as our speaker. With a PhD in analytical chemistry from the University of Vermont, Dr. Harvey has been applying her technical expertise to agriculture since 2019. She is highly regarded in the agricultural laboratory community for her leadership and commitment to data integrity and method standardization. Dr. Harvey also serves on the board of the Agricultural Laboratory Testing Association, or ALTA, where she contributes to advancing best practices in the industry. Under her guidance, Woods End Laboratories, this is a subsidiary of Devron, is dedicated to providing precise and accurate scientific solutions to help support agriculture and champion the role of soil health in increasingly dry conditions. Dr. Harvey will lead us through effective soil health practices to mitigate the effects of dry weather, sharing insights that will empower your farming operation to thrive under challenging conditions. Following her presentation, we will open the floor to a quick Q&A session. And Dr. Harvey, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for the warm welcome, Phil. I just wanted to start today by reflecting on some recent conversations that I've had with folks in the field and in the lab community. And really, these conversations have centered around a missing surge of fall soil samples coming into the laboratories. I've heard phrases like, I just can't get my probe into the ground. It's like trying to sample in concrete. We really just need some rain so I can sample. And from the lab community, we just haven't had the rush that we normally get. Everybody has rationalized these difficult field conditions to the lack of rain. And it's true. This here is a map from the US Drought Monitor that was pulled from their website earlier this week. And it demonstrates that, based on these colors where white indicates normal condition, varying shades of orange and red indicate higher drought conditions. It demonstrates that, yes, we've had very dry conditions. And although we've had a little rain in the past few weeks, the past week or so throughout the US and the central US is still very dry, and many parts of the US is still very dry. And although many have been kind of blaming their difficulties of getting samples collected on the recent dry conditions, the weather is really just highlighting the symptoms of a larger issue, which is poor soil health. There are many different ways to think about soil health. For the purposes of today's discussion, I'll offer this potential definition, where soil health really describes the dynamic biological activities and ecosystem functioning within a soil. And it focuses on a holistic approach to understanding and promoting soil chemistry, biology, and physical structure. More importantly, I think that we should focus on the key functions of a healthy soil. And these include increased water infiltration, reduced erosion and runoff, a reduced need or reliance on irrigation and chemical fertilizers. A healthy soil will reduce pest stress, definitely increase resilience to extreme weather conditions. A healthy soil will increase carbon sequestration, nutrient cycling, and there have been studies that show that healthy soils produce more nutritious and better tasting crops. The beneficial functions or ecosystem services that a healthy soil system provides are numerous and plentiful. In addition to these functions, a healthy soil is easy to sample and easy for plants to grow in, regardless of the weather conditions. Some of the features of a healthy soil that you may be able to recognize in the field are kind of demonstrated here. So on the left-hand side, we have an image from the Minnesota NRCS that shows a soil that would be considered a very healthy soil, and many different indicators show that it's a healthy soil. And observing this soil, you would see that it's dark in color, indicating that it has high organic matter. It has a sponge-like structure with very visible soil aggregates, and we'll talk a lot about why that's important to a healthy soil. It has a very sweet, earthy aroma, and the structure allows for very deep roots to form. And this type of a soil, a healthy soil, will hold its shape very well when it's saturated, as opposed to a relatively unhealthy soil that may be heavily managed. It'll have a lighter color, it'll resemble a brick in structure, and it will lack the aroma, visible roots, and structure when wet, kind of features of a healthy soil. So that's how we might recognize a healthy soil in the field. And a lot of these qualities of a healthy soil are really tied to the aggregate structure of the soil. So we can owe both the functions and features of a healthy soil to its ability to form soil aggregates. On a very basic level, soil is a mixture of sand, silt, and clay particles. In a healthy soil, microbes produce a glue that holds these mineral particles together, and over time, these aggregates form, building structure, providing homes for microbes, and allowing air and water to flow freely. And that's a really key feature of a well-aggregated soil, is the presence of these large pores allowing water, air, and plant roots to navigate freely. The following are a few images that kind of demonstrate this process. We're on the left-hand side, we have a poorly aggregated soil. The sand, silt, and clay particles are not grouped together. You have tight pore spaces, and any rainwater or any other type of irrigation that's being applied to that land is going to pond on top of the surface and not infiltrate into the root zone where the plants have access to it. As opposed to the right-hand side, multiple large pores allow that water to actively infiltrate into the land. A poorly aggregated soil, you also run into issues of runoff. So when a rain event, whether heavy or light, does happen, there's a higher likelihood for that rainwater to flow over the land, carrying with it both soil, causing erosion, and any nutrients that might be either applied or existing naturally there. One key feature of these well-aggregated soils is that aggregation is maintained regardless of the weather conditions. Even in dry conditions, a well-aggregated soil will maintain these large pores, so that eventually when the rainwater does fall, it's absorbed and infiltrated deeper into the soil. Well-aggregated soils also allow for roots to penetrate deeply and allows those plants and the roots of the plants to access a soil solution and absorb key nutrients for their growth. The pore space in between aggregated soil particles in a well-aggregated system creates a key habitat for soil microbes that really do the nutrient cycling, that form additional soil aggregates, and that are really key to maintaining a healthy soil system. So what are some things that we can do to promote soil structure in the field? Brief caveat here, or disclaimer here, is that I'm a PhD chemist and I work in agricultural systems, but I am not an agronomist. So I'm going to lean heavily on the USDA's guidance on different management to promote soil structures throughout the rest of this part of the presentation. And I think they do a really good job clarifying some of the practices that are known to produce and foster a healthy soil system. The first of which is to minimize disturbance. So that's minimizing the disturbance to the soil. Practices can include reducing tillage, And also managing grazing practices so you're not overgrazing particular areas of your farming system. Minimizing disturbance maintains soil structure, reduces compaction, creates a habitat for soil life, and all in all, really improves aggregate structure, supports a healthy aggregate structure that prevents erosion and improves water infiltration. Another practice is to maximize soil cover. And really what that means is keeping the soil covered with living plants, using cover crops, leaving plant residue in the field, practicing intercropping. All of these practices conserve moisture, reduce temperature at the soil, intercepts raindrops. Raindrops can have a destructive impact on a poor soil system, and so that plant residue really intercepts that and allows the water to be infiltrated more easily. Maximizing soil cover suppresses unwanted growth, so suppresses weed growth and provides more habitat for soil animals that spend part of their time above ground. Another practice is to maximize biodiversity. And what that means essentially is rotating your crops, diversifying your crops, growing many different types of crops in rotation, and incorporating cover crops. All of these practices produce a more resilient farm system to both weather and any potential insect pressures. And the last is to maximize the presence of living roots. Again, this looks like practicing intercropping, using cover crops, and growing long season crops, which supports the rhizosphere and the soil microbe food web. Other groups that focus on promoting management practices that support healthy soil might also encourage the incorporation of livestock. There's been a growing amount of work demonstrating that incorporating grazing animals and livestock into your rotation and into your system can help support a healthy soil as well. But before you do anything to start, introducing these different management practices, I think the most important thing to do is to establish your baseline. Evaluating these different management practices is something that should be done and it should be informed. All of your decisions that you're making should be informed by something like a soil test. And what I recommend when looking for a soil health test is to make sure that that soil health test includes parameters that evaluate the physical, chemical, and biological aspect of your soil. Aggregate stability is something that can be measured in the laboratory and is directly tied to that formation of aggregates within the soil. For soil biology, Solvita carbon dioxide respiration or any CO2 respiration is a great tool to be able to evaluate how active the microbiome is within your soil. And then for soil chemistry, organic nitrogen. We can dive further into why these parameters are essential to understanding soil health in a future webinar, but they are key indicators of soil health. It's really important that you understand your soil test results and that you trust the lab that you're working with to help you fully understand those soil test results. These reports can be very involved. These are examples of the 2 soil health reports that we produce within our network of laboratories within Deveron. And it's really important that you fully understand what all the parameters mean and what that means for your system. Make sure to work with your lab to ensure that you have that understanding, or an agronomist to really understand what those lab results mean for your farming system and how to use these reports to inform your decision about which soil health management practices you may want to implement. I think it's worth mentioning that there are additional resources out there to support your decision-making process as well. If you're not currently participating in any of these management practices, it may feel overwhelming. You don't know where to start. Definitely start with a soil health test, and then know that there are people out there who can help you really understand what it means for your system. And I think it's worth mentioning that The USDA's Natural Resource Conservation Service, or NRCS, has many different cost share and reimbursement programs available to support these endeavors. So I encourage you to look up your local service center and identify opportunities to receive free money, grants, to fund the implementation of some of these activities. These grants could cover the cost of soil health testing. They could cover the cost of cover crop seeds, or even compost to apply to your land. And if any of this seems unclear, overwhelming, please reach out to a team of experts who have decades of experience in conventional soil health testing and soil health practices. So as Phil mentioned, Woods End is a part of a larger network of labs and agronomists and other such soil experts. And we all work together to support producers in their farming journey. We don't sell inputs, and we provide unbiased agronomic insight based on accurate lab data. We'd be honored to work with you on your soil health journey. And if you're ready to start that conversation, we encourage you to reach out. This is just an introduction to a very, very large world of soil health and soil health practices that we'd really be happy to work with you and honored to work with you to understand your farming system and what management techniques make sense for you as a producer.